Hello grade 11s, my name is Priscilla SANELANE, but you may simply call me Miss Priscilla. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. In this grade 11 accounting video, we are going to be looking at your study approach for the third term. So we are trying to maximize the amount of result that you will be able to get for your third term. I know that for some of you, this past weekend you got your school reports and they may have revealed some of your strengths, some of your weaknesses, and you already know and are looking for a strategy to maximize those weak points that you have already determined. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the rest of the topics that are left for your academic year, and especially for the third term in particular, and how you should study for them in order to maximize the amount of results that you will be able to get at the end of the third term when you are writing your results. I always say exam prep actually starts at the beginning of the term. So this is basically going to prepare you to put you in a better position by the end of the term, so that when you are studying to prepare for your examinations, you will not be overwhelmed. So this is the video for just that. The first topic that we are looking at for term 3, which is a topic that most of you have already started with, will be the topic of budgeting. Now, the purpose of this video is to now look at, in the topic of budgeting, what are the most important things for you to study that can and will most probably come up in the term 3 examinations at the end of the term. So these are the things that you need to get into the practice of practicing right now, because they're the things that are going to count in a long run. So you know that when we begin a topic, usually we start with the basics, but usually at the test at the end of the term, the basics don't necessarily show up. If they show up, they show up for low marks. But if you are trying to maximize the marks and the things that are just going to be the most important things when we're saying we're testing the topic of budgeting, these are the things that you need to be able to do. The first one is be able to prepare a cash budget. So you need to learn the framework, the entire framework of a cash budget, for you to be able to say that you have mastered the topic of budgeting. Secondly, you need to be able to do a data collection schedule, because within a cash budget that you have, that we spoke about as the number one thing, within it you are required to fill in cash receipts from debtors. To get those cash receipts, we get them from a debtors collection schedule. The same thing applies to a creditor's payment schedule. When we get to the part of the expenses, or the part of the payments in the cash budget, we get to a section where we now have to record payments to creditors. For us to be able to get the information that we record in payments to creditors, we get that information from a creditor's payment schedule. So a debtor's collection schedule and a creditor's payment schedule are sort of individual statements on themselves, but the information that we are recording in there, the whole purpose of us preparing a debtor's collection schedule and a creditor's payment schedule, is for us to get the totals from those statements to take them back to the cash budget. Hence we said, and hence you are seeing even on the slide that I have placed there, that preparing a cash budget is your number one priority. You cannot prepare a full cash budget without having to enter the receipts from debtors, as well as payment to creditors rather. And for those to be done, you have to know how to prepare a debtors collection schedule as well as a creditors collection schedule. So we are basically just preparing them so that we can get the totals to then go back to the cash budget, because the cash budget is what's important. So make sure that you are able to also calculate all of the other incomes that go in the income section of the cash budget, as well as the expenses that go into the payment section of the cash budget, for you to have completed a full cash budget. Secondly, in term 3, you will see that we get into the topic of inventory. Now, we're looking at inventory in the context of your grade 11 syllabus. So, with inventory, we are coming into it assuming that there are some things that you have already learned in grade 10, right? So, there are some things that you have already learned in grade 10, and we are basically building up on those things. What we focus on in grade 11 is now we get to having to test if you understand the difference between the perpetual and the periodic inventory system. So as you may have known from grade 10 that we have two inventory systems, the perpetual and the periodic. In the grade 11 syllabus, what we are doing is we are looking at the difference. Do you understand the difference? Do you have a clear application of those two inventory systems? The best way that they test your understanding of the difference between the perpetual and the periodic inventory systems is by testing if you know the advantages and disadvantages of each. I think that if you understand what a perpetual inventory system is, you are in a way also able to understand what its advantages are. If you don't know what its advantages are, that may be a clear indication that you may not understand what a perpetual inventory system is and how does it differ from periodic, because if you did, you should be able to then list out the advantages and the disadvantages of each. So that's what you need to make sure that you prioritize learning, the advantages and disadvantages of these two periodic of these two inventory systems. Then the second thing that you need to do is now we get to the part of recording in these systems. So in the perpetual inventory system, you know that we use the trading stock account. So anytime you see a trading stock account, that means we are dealing with a perpetual inventory system. The perpetual inventory system requires you to be able to record in the T account or the ledger account, that is the trading stock account. So make sure that you get comfortable with recording into this T account. Then we move on to the periodic inventory system. In the periodic inventory system, we do not have a trading stock account. What we do have is individual expense account, and one of those expense accounts is purchases. There's many more like your carriages that you will have to make sure that you study, but I think at the very least, if you have to prioritize one of them and you need to make sure that you are comfortable with at least the most basic one, that would be the purchases account, because that's where we record all the stock that we purchase. Then the carriage has its own separate account, so you would have even learned that when you were dealing with the advantages and disadvantages, because if you explain the periodic inventory system, it explains in itself that you will need this individual expense account. Why? Because we do not have a trading stock account. Additionally, you will need to know how to calculate closing stock using the perpetual inventory system as well as using the periodic inventory system, knowing how they differ in terms of calculation. And then lastly, you need to know how to work with a markup percentage. The last topic that you need to consider for term 3 is the topic of manufacturing, also known as cost accounting. According to your annual teaching plan, we know that term 3 is actually one of the shortest terms. Hence, you are seeing that I have only mentioned 3 topics for this term. That is the budgeting, inventory, and manufacturing. And in case you are alarmed to say, wait a minute, you only mentioned only 3 topics. Is that all that we have to do for term 3? Yes, it is. You only have 3 topics, and that's why I think that if you strategize well, you will be able to do better in term 3. You will be able to boost your marks in term 3. So when we get to the topic of manufacturing, also known as cost accounting, what are the things that you need to focus on to be able to master this topic? What are the things that you need to take notes on and start practicing as early as now for you to be prepared for this topic? The first thing is the calculation of the break-even point. So the calculation of the break-even point comes with the formula. So you need to know what is the formula first and foremost, and how to substitute into that formula. Secondly, you need to be able to calculate a unit cost of a product. This now takes us back again to the information that we learned in grade 10. We are bringing it with us to grade 11, and that is the information on variable versus fixed cost. Are you able to determine the fixed costs of a product, and are you able to determine the variable costs of a product? Do you even know the difference between the variable and the fixed cost? I think even in math literacy, if you're doing math literacy, you already deal with difference between the variable and the fixed cost. So you just now need to be able to use them to calculate a unit cost. The unit cost just simply means the cost of producing one unit of the product. So let's say it's a company that's producing bread. We are looking at the cost of producing one loaf of bread. Then in the formula of the break-even point, you will see that there is a part where we have contribution per unit. Contribution per unit in itself also has a formula. So you need to make sure that you know the formula for contribution per unit, so that you can substitute contribution per unit into the break-even point formula. Then when it comes to the manufacturing or the production cost statement itself, you need to be able to calculate direct material cost as well as direct labor cost. Then you also need to know how to calculate factory overhead cost. Now the factory overhead cost, you also need to know what falls under factory overhead cost, because we also have other costs that are associated with producing a product, which are the administration cost as well as the selling and distribution cost. So you need to be able to differentiate these from the factory overhead costs. What are the costs that belong to the factory, and what are the costs that belong to the office and the shop? On this channel, I also make videos similar to this for exam prep as well as exam scope around the examination time. If you are interested in me doing that and covering your subjects, be sure to email me your term 3 timetable at the email that you are seeing on the screen. The reason for that is so that I can make those videos in alignment with the dates of your exam rather than being late for them. Have YouTube recommend you more of my videos, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below.